What's up, everyone? Uncle Devin here. I want to welcome everyone to my extended conversation as we talk and follow up on the post that I did about Easter Monday. I know that there was one commenter on the YouTube page that said, "Wait a minute, you told me to come here. There was no additional content." I actually meant to have it last week, but I actually got sick and I couldn't really even talk. So that's why we pushed it back a week. And I want to kind of expand a little bit more on this conversation about Easter. In fact, you notice that the last couple of holidays, for both Christmas and Easter, I actually did a post about them, and I wanted to do that because um, I don't know about you, but I grew up, in a Christian society, and we talk about these holidays. They're so important in our daily lives. We got national holidays, at least for one of them. But I always wondered why, at least in the churches I went to, they could never explain to me the dates and where they came from. We talk about the calendar. We say 1000 BC or before Christ, which would suggest that the year starts over the day Christ is born. So why wouldn't Jesus' birthday be on January 1st? Why December 25th? And how come Easter just jumped around? One year it's on one day, it's on a different day in April. Next thing you know, it's in March. It kind of jumps around. And so I actually began doing research about this way back in the 90s when I was an active participant, organizer in Pan Africanism. But also, I was a member of the African Methodist Episcopal Zion Church. And it was during that time period that I started answering these questions. I mean, we really didn't have these discussions in your Sunday school and in your Bible studies. And so I began to do this research, so much so that I started almost like a mini protest while I was in the church about why aren't we talking about these things that are pertinent to the everyday ideas and everyday things that we go through. And so for me, it was not just talking about the problem, but being part of the solution. And so I started doing research. And it took me all over the world, just basic things. I mean, why? Ask that very question, why? But I didn't just ask to get the answer from someone else. I actually had to find the answer myself. And I started a newsletter back in the 1990s. It was called the Kemet Report. And the word Kemet actually stands for Egypt. And as a political science major, I came to realize that a lot of the knowledge of the ancient Greeks, actually they took and stole from Egypt. So I wanted a newsletter that took me beyond European studies. I needed to go back to the origin, to the original sources, and that was Africa. And that led me to ultimately writing all these research documents that documented this information, provided references, countered the narrative that everything started with Europe. And then ultimately I put them in this book that I have here. I wrote this book in 2002, but the book actually contains all those research documents that started back in 1990. And it also contains all the work that I was doing in the church to, as I call it, Pan-Africanize the church, or go from Christianity back to Pan-Africanism, where we started from. And so this particular book here is actually an official part of the AME Zion Church. I submitted it to at one of the annual conferences, and I think at the general conference back in, I don't know, 2002, 2003 or something like that, whenever the general conference was for the AME Zion Church. And so I want to use this just to read a little bit, to kind of expand a little bit about what I was talking about with Easter. As you saw in the video, I talked about the fact that Easter is the first Sunday after the first full moon, after or on or after the spring equinox, which was March 31st. And this year, Easter fell on March 31st. And so I want to talk a little bit more about that, and even take a look at its connections with other ideas that come from the Bible, that comes from biblical history, or even history in and of itself. And I'm going to jump straight to page 87 of my book, and I'm gonna start there. And I want to read just a little bit about this, and of course, any comments or questions that you have about this, please let me know. I've seen some put some very great comments, or all comments are great. No one has been disrespectful or anything to that degree. So all the comments have been great. Whether we agree or disagree, it doesn't matter. The fact that is we're having a conversation, and that's really what I look forward to is learning as much as I hope to be able to teach. And so I'm gonna start from page 87 of my book, and this particular chapter is chapter 3 of the book, and it's entitled Christianity in Africa. And I began, this is part 1 of one of the first newsletters that I did, actually, or in 1991, I believe it was, in November of 1991. And I republished it in this book. The title of that newsletter was called Important Facts About Christianity, What They Never Told You. This was part 1, volume 1, number 4, the 4th edition, November 1991. And I'm going straight to page 87, and this is point 4 in that. It says, what are the ancient biblical scripts based upon? So what are the basic scripts based upon? Many of the stories of the Bible are based upon ancient Egyptian culture and folklore. Stated below are numerous examples that will prove that many of the events in the Bible took place thousands of years prior to the writing of the Bible. Christmas and Easter. Well over 4,000 years before the birth of Jesus, Christmas and Easter were celebrated by the Egyptians. Now, I mean, many people can't even conceptualize that. How is it that a date that's supposed to symbolize the birth and the death of Jesus was celebrated thousands of years before him? Well, let's continue. On the 25th of December, according to Professor Anthony Browder, in his book, The Browder Files, the sun is symbolically born as sunlight increases approximately 1 minute per day. At the midnight hour during the first minute of December 25th, the birth of the sun, S-U-N, was seen in the astrological sign of Capricorn, which was known as the stable of Aegeus, I believe is how it's pronounced. Therefore, the infant sun god, S-U-N, or S-O-N, sun god, however you want to spell it, or the new sun, was said to have been born in a stable. Okay, so you see the connection, the connection between Capricorn and the astrological sign of Capricorn, which was known as the stable. So the sun was born in a stable in Capricorn. That's all it was saying. That's what Professor Browder was saying. And then I go on to say Easter also has astrological roots. The World Book Encyclopedia states that the date for Easter falls on the first Sunday after the first full moon on or after March 21st.